So without this pillar, it's like missing an assignment in school. Now listen to me. That's worth 30%. So if you did everything else in school for that particular subject, for that particular teacher, it's like missing 30%. So you did everything except for this one assignment, and it's 30% of your grade. You got 100% on everything that you turned in. 100% A plus all the way A plus plus, but you didn't turn in this one assignment that was worth 30%. So in that class, the best you could do is a 70%. 100% minus this 30 that you didn't turn in is a 70%, which is a C all day, every day. So you did so good in the class and you missed one assignment. Now you got a C out of it, and when you could have got an A out of it. So you need to have a credit card. So the credit bureau and FICO has something to calculate for this 30%, and it's very, very important pillar when it comes to your credit score. All right, so let's do this. Let me tell you exactly how you're supposed to figure out your credit utilization. So here's how you do it. It's your balance divided by your limit. You hear me? It's your balance divided by your limit. And we'll go through an example. So you can do this on each individual card, and you can do them as a sum total of all of them. You got 5 cards. You go ahead, figure out what your balances are on all 5 cards, add that up. You got to figure out what the limits are on all those cards. You add them up, and then you can get an overall, here's what your utilization is. Then you can, of course, do it with the single card, the individual card. Here's what your balance is. Here's what your limit is. And you can see what your utilization is. So it's the balance divided by your limit. Let's do an example right quick. So you've got a card with a $6,000 limit. Your balance is $2,800. $6,000 limit. Your balance is $2,800 bucks. What's your utilization? So I'm going to pause and give you a second, pull out your calculator, whatever you're going to do, so you can figure out what your utilization is. While I'm here, I'm going to mention one more time, I'm going to mention Cute as a Cupcake. You guys go to www.cuteasacupcake3.com, and you guys order some cupcakes and get them delivered right to your home. And then also, while you're doing all this stuff in your online, go to Amazon, pick up 5 Pillars of Credit by myself, Kevin King, the 800 Credit Score Man, for $3. Yes, $3. Go to Amazon.com and pick up 5 Pillars of Credit. All right, so you figured it out? You figured it out. What do we say? We said your limit is $6,000, and we said your balance is $2,800, right? So what's your credit utilization? Everybody scream out 47%. That's your credit utilization on that card. It's 47%. You're using 47% of whatever your limit is on this particular card. Now, if it was $3,000 as a balance, then that would be an exact 50%. You got $6,000 limit and you owe $3,000. That's a 50%. So you're just under at 47%. When you did your calculation, you should have got 0.46666667. And so all you got to do from that 0.46 is move it over to, that's 46.6. So roughly 47% is what your credit utilization is. So now you know how. You know how to figure out your own credit utilization. And what I want you to do and how I want you to think about it, if you're going to get a credit card, you don't have one, or the next time you get a credit card, whatever it is, here's what I want you to think about. 30% is optimal of where you want to be. You don't want to be over 30% credit utilization on your credit cards. So next time you get a card and they give you a limit of $1,000, don't think in terms of, I have $1,000 to spend, I have $998 to spend. Think in terms of that 30%. I don't want to be over 30%. So you got $1,000 limit, that's $300. That's what you want to spend on a credit card with $1,000 limit, and no more than that, so you can stay at that 30%, that quote unquote magical percentage of 30% when it comes to your credit card. So make sure this is what you're looking at, this is what you're doing. Now let's talk about zero balances. So a zero balance on your credit card, that's a really, really, really good thing for your pocket. I'm in search of that myself right now. I'm trying to get down to zero so I don't have to pay anybody anymore. So just because got a good credit score doesn't mean I don't have any debt. I got plenty of debt. I got a lot of toys and all kind of stuff in my house, right? So I'm trying to get down there too as well. Now I am under 30%, which is helping my credit score, that's for sure. But I want to get to zero as well. So let's talk about zero balances on your credit cards. So again, it's a good thing for your pocket, right? But it's not necessarily the best thing for your score. Now, you don't have to keep a balance. You do not, let me repeat that. You do not have to keep a balance on your credit cards for your score to go up or for you to maintain the score. However, there's always a caveat, right? However, you should use credit cards periodically and for a couple of reasons. So, they will close your card. You know they'll close your card for non-use. So if you haven't used the card in a long time, they will close that card. And long time means different to different places and different entities. A jewelry store that I used to frequent, if I didn't go in there in 9 months, they're going to close my credit card. They're just absolutely going to do it. I've had Visas and MasterCards that I haven't used for 3 or 4 years. They never close those credit cards, right? So a long time is relative, depending on who it is, right? So they might close your card. So you don't want them to close your cards. That's a bad thing. You do not want them to close your credit cards, and you don't want to close your credit cards either. So do not close your credit cards, especially if you've had them for quite a long time, because that's helping your credit scores. All right, so you don't want to do that. It definitely hurts your credit if you close an old card, especially an old card in more ways than one. All right, so in this particular pillar, though, if you have a zero balance, but you got credit cards, then again, the credit bureaus have nothing to judge you off of. That's what they're doing. They're judging you to see, hey, how well is this person utilizing their credit? They don't have anything to do that with if you're not using those credit cards, again, periodically using those credit cards. That don't mean you have to use them every month if you don't want to use it every month, because I have no intention on using mine anytime soon. Not anytime soon. If something breaks in the house, I mentioned a washer dryer earlier or whatever, then I'll use the credit card. But other than that, I have no intentions on using that credit card anytime soon. But I will use it periodically. Maybe every 6, 8, 9 months I might use it. And when I say use it, I mean I'm going to go spend 50, 60 bucks on it, and then I'll make a payment on it, whatever the minimum is, and then the next month I'll pay the whole thing off. That's the strategy that I'm going to use, all right? So you can feel free to use that strategy as well. So if you haven't used your card in a long time right now, and you haven't used it in a long time, go make a charge. You're at home, you use it for takeout or whatever it is. When things get back to normal, use it, hook it up for your Uber rides and whatnot. Hook it up so you can use that credit card for that. And then, of course, you can pay it off the next month when the bill comes. So make sure you use those credit cards. Now, let's do this. We've covered, why it's important, how to calculate it. Now, let's talk about how can you get that utilization down. So one of the things you can do, of course, is to just pay it down. Figure out exactly the amount to get under or at 30%. I'd say use 28 or 25% in your calculation, because the lower the better. The lower your credit score, you're better. 30% is just the highest, all right? So, and there's even data that suggests when you get down to 10% utilization, your credit score goes up again. Like you get an additional little bump when you get down to 10% utilization. So figure out the amount for you so you can get down to that amount to be at or under 30%. And to figure this out, simply take your limit and multiply it. Take your limit and multiply it by that 28% I just said. So if you've got a $6,000 limit, like we used above, and you multiply it by 0.28, that's 28%, then $1,680. That is your 28% of the 6,000. So if you owe $2,400, you know where you need to go. You know what your target is. Your target goal now is going to be to get your balance down to $1,680. So you're under that 30%. You get under that 30%, your credit score is going to bounce, right? Your credit score is going to go up. So do that calculation. Do it with each one of your credit cards, and Do it with all of them together as well, so you know where you need to get to, what your target and your focus is, and you can figure it out. So you can do it that way. Pay it down, right? So you're paying it down, of course. Another thing you can do, get an increase. Yes, get an increase. Now we're talking about getting out of debt and all that stuff, but you can get an increase in your with your existing cards. So as long as you don't use that increase, that's the key. So those addicted people, maybe you don't want to get an increase because you might use that extra that they give you. Get an increase so that'll help you out. So for an example, if you have a card with a $4,000 limit and you owe $2,000, that's a 50% utilization. You owe half as much as the limit, right? So, well, if you get an increase to that on that limit to, let's say, $6,000, now your utilization automatically drops. It automatically drops. You had a $4,000 limit. Now your limit is $6,000, and what do we say you owed? You owed $2,000. That's 33%. So automatically, by getting that increase, your utilization drops to 33%, and you have not sent in a dime. You haven't sent in a dime, and you're closer to that quote-unquote magical percentage of 30%. You're at 33%. So now all you've got to do is pay it down a little bit, and you'll be under that 30% right there. So that's another way for you to get your utilization down. These tactics are really good, especially when you're about to make a big purchase and you do need that bump in your credit score. You're about to buy a car, you're about to buy a mortgage. That interest rate might go down some if you can get your score up a few points and whatnot. So when you're looking at those things and everybody's like, oh, I need to get this off my credit report because it's a negative, if it's a collection or whatever, that's usually where our focus is as an individual, or your mortgage lender's focus is. If we get this removed, then this person's credit will go to so-and-so. But in addition to doing those things, if you do something like this, by getting your utilization down, however you need to do it, then that's going to help your credit score, right? So make sure you do that. And here's the last thing I want to tell you about getting it down and how to do it. You could actually get another credit card, except for you addicted people. Don't get another credit card. But you can get another credit card. And if you do, as long as you don't use whatever that limit that they give you, then your credit utilization is going to go down. So just like an example above where you got an increase, or you can do a combination of all of these things. When you got an increase in the last example from the $4,000 to a $6,000 limit, if you got another card and they gave you a $2,000 limit, it's essentially the same thing. So your credit utilization drops because you have more credit available to you. So those are just 3 simple things that you can do to manipulate your credit utilization. Manipulating that credit utilization and making it come down makes your credit score go up. And that's why this particular pillar is so important. And that's why this is the one that I believe you can manipulate the most, because there are a lot of options in it. You can't manipulate the payment part of it. You either paid on time or you didn't pay on time. Could you get a late payment removed here or there? Potentially. However, within this particular category, and it's the second most important, the second heavily weighted category and pillar, this is the one that you can impact the most. Can you impact your mix? Yeah, if you don't have a credit card or you don't have a loan somewhere, you can go out and you can get one or the other and create a better mix. But that's only 10% of your credit score. This one is 30% of your credit score. This is the one that you need to concentrate on when it comes to trying to boost your credit score. This is the main one that you need to do so. So that's just 3 of them. There are many, many more. And if you got questions, you want to know how to get it done, what you're going to do, you're going to contact the 800 Credit Score Man. So send me an email, 800@creditscoreman.com. You can also catch me on any social media. So Instagram, I'm 800 Credit Score Man. Facebook, same thing. Twitter, I'm at Credit Score _man on Twitter. So catch me on any of those. And also, you can text this number, 312-600-5855. You got questions? Let me see what we can do to help you out. At the end of the day, I used to say it all the time, know thyself. Know thyself. So don't go get that extra credit card if you know you're going to use it and abuse it. Don't go get that extra credit card. So you got to know thyself. If you don't have the discipline to start paying those things down,